everyone. I'm Rochelle Chernowski. This is Shell Point Today for Monday, June 24th. On today's show, Ann Wharton reviews tonight's movie presentation, Life with Father. We'll get some professional medical advice about the benefits of humor, and we'll get some humor ourselves, courtesy of a magical rodent that can only be found right here at Shell Point. But first, a few reminders about important events happening today. This morning, we'll hear from Dr. Marilyn Cole of Lee Physician Group, who will discuss how we can manage and hopefully prevent long-term diseases. Her free presentation is at 10:15 a.m. in the Manatee Room on the island. At 1 o'clock, we have a special academy class featuring our Facility Operations Department. Go behind the scenes at the chiller plant, the call center, the laundry, and more. This special Coffee with a Neighbor happens today at 1 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. And then at 1:15, we have a meeting for everyone interested in astronomy. There's plenty to see here in our Florida skies, but what kind of telescope should you be using? Come find out at today's Astronomy Club meeting, happening at 1:15 p.m. in the Manatee Room on the island. It's a free event and all are welcome. And this evening, we have our movie night for June, and tonight's film is the family comedy Life with Father. This 1947 film plays tonight at 6:45 p.m. in the Manatee Room. Please note the change of location, as the social center is currently being renovated. Tonight's movie night is at 6:45 in the Manatee Room on the island. Ann Wharton has this review.
Hello again. I'm Ann Wharton, and welcome to Real Review. For Monday's film, we will be showing the 1947 American classic, Life with Father. It is based on the book, Life with Father, written by Clarence Day, Jr. It tells the true story of Clarence Day, a stockbroker who wants to be master of his house, but finds his wife and his 4 sons ignoring him, until they start making demands for him to change his own life. In keeping with the autobiography, all of the children in the family are redheads. William Powell is every inch father, from carrot patch dome to the tip of his buttoned-up shoes. Even his voice, always so distinctive, has taken on a new quality. So completely has William Powell managed to submerge his own personality. His father is not merely a performance. It's a character delineation of high order, and he so utterly dominates the picture that even when he's not on hand, his presence is still felt. While Father goes into towering rage at the slightest provocation, stamping his foot at the breakfast table when the coffee isn't right, he is at heart a very kind, tolerant, and sympathetic man. For all of his bluff and independence, Father would be lost without his patient and understanding wife, Vinnie. Irene Dunn interprets Vinnie Day with charm and wit and an exactness that perfectly complements William Powell's father. The way Mother cajoles her rebellious husband with her great charm and feminine wile is delightful. Irene Dunn has been described as the best actress to never win an Academy Award. She received 5 Best Actress nominations during her career. The 4 Day boys, all redheads naturally, are played as follows. Jimmy Langdon is the oldest, who has a crush on the visiting Mary Skinner, played by Elizabeth Taylor. Martin Milner plays John, who likes to invent. Johnny Hawkins plays Whitney, who would rather play baseball than study his catechism. And Derek Scott plays the youngest son, Harlem, who is worried about Father getting into heaven. Other performances are contributed by Edmund Gwynn as the Reverend Dr. Lloyd, Zazu Pitts as Cousin Cora, and a string of maids too numerous to mention. The film, Life with Father, will be shown on Monday, June 24th at 6:45 p.m. Be sure to get your soda and popcorn. Come and enjoy this domestic classic, a perfect family entertainment. See you all at the movies.
It's amazing the impact that humor can have on your well-being. We're not just talking about feeling good after seeing a funny movie. It's been proven that laughter has tangible medical benefits for your mind, body, and soul. We're exploring all these aspects of humor with Dr. Carol Clark, Dr. Nancy Spencer, and Dr. Sue Stranahan, who are presenting an Academy class called The Holistic Impact of Humor. It happens tomorrow at 1 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. Here is a preview.
Hello everyone, I'm Terry Kolath, and I'm here today with two of my three favorite doctors, and we're talking about a program in the Academy of Lifelong Learning. We are so blessed that every single semester, Dr. Carol Clark, nurse practitioner in our medical center, Dr. Sue Stranahan, Director of Spiritual Services, and Dr. Nancy Spencer on our behavioral health team, put their heads together on a topic of interest to all of us, and then share with us a mind, body, spirit perspective. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And this semester, our topic is humor. And I, like the rest of Shell Point, can't wait to hear what you come up with, because every semester you kind of amaze us with your information geared to our topics, and we're so grateful. I have to say that I am always amazed to get even two of the three of you in a room at the same time, because I know how busy you are. And the two of you are also talking for Dr. Nancy Spencer today. Sue, let's start with you. When we look at the mind, body, spirit perspective on any of these topics, there are some overlaps with the emotional and the spiritual. Right.
That's true. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish which is mental emotional and which is spiritual, because the two feed into each other. So Dr. Nancy Spencer will explain and explore the mental, emotional part of humor and how humor facilitates that, whereas I'm going to focus more on spirituality and how humor and spirituality coexist.
And it is interesting how when we think about our spirituality, it is a serious topic for some of us, because we only look at serious aspects. Mm-hmm. And isn't there so much joy in faith? There
is. Joy, laughter, humor. It's an expression of our relationship with God, who is the source of joy.
Wonderful. I can't wait. And Dr. Carol Clark, looking at how this affects our body.
Norman Cousins wrote a book in the about 1976 called Anatomy of an Illness, and he was a prize-winning journalist who had developed a chronic disease that was terminal. They said he could not get well from. And one of his quotations that I really like is, "The tragedy of life is not death, but what we let die inside of us while we live." So he was the first lay person to speak to science about the possibility of laughter for healing, and experienced healing himself. So, and it was a well-documented sort of biography that he wrote. But beyond that, I've been able to just witness in my career resiliency versus non-resiliency through hard times. And the people who are able to find humor in the serious seem to do very well in living through chronic illness or grief, those types of things.
Well, we are in for a treat as always, I know, and I can't believe that we have only set aside an hour and a half, but that's pretty much as long as most of us can sit. So we'll do our regular format where each of you takes a series of minutes and talks about your topic. And when we leave, I can guarantee you, because semester after semester after semester it's been true, you'll have a good holistic look at the topic from my three favorite doctors. Please join us tomorrow.
So according to some very qualified experts, humor has a positive impact. Well, in that case, I guess we need to show you something funny. You know, for medical purposes. Here's a nature documentary that we produced for April Fool's Day 2009.
This is Jared Pike with Shell Point TV. Right now, I am standing in the Shell Point parking garage, and we are on the doorstep of a major scientific discovery. Biologists here have discovered the first evidence of that creature which previously was only thought to be legend, the Florida speckled night gerbil. People have speculated about the existence of the Florida speckled night gerbil for centuries. A holdover from the ancient man-eating rodents of the Precambrian era, The Florida speckled night gerbil was said to be the most vicious, furry creature known to man. Ponce de Leon, upon spotting the creatures on his journey to Florida in 1513, wrote this in his journal. Among the hidden corners of these new and forbidding lands, we have briefly beheld creatures of such speed and violence as has not been witnessed by civilized man. While the animal is yet small enough to be held in the hand, one would be a fool to attempt such a reckless undertaking. These legends grew among the Seminole and Calusa Indian tribes. Each had their own name for the magical rodent. The Spaniards, for example, called them Los Conquistadores de los Conejitos del Polvo. But eventually, they came to be known by the more tame moniker, the Florida speckled night gerbil.
Well, it's odd because most gerbils make great pets and lots of people have gerbils for pets. But this particular gerbil is a very vicious and violent animal. It kills quickly. Plus, this is the only gerbil that's nocturnal, and that's why no one has ever really been able to get a good picture of one.
In the past few years, we've seen grainy photographs and security cam footage that purport to be the famous rodent. But because of the creature's speed and violent nature, people have generally been afraid to attempt photographing it.
Now, most of this is speculation, but we have had numerous unconfirmed sightings of the Florida speckled night gerbil actually climbing walls. It doesn't matter what type of wall it is, whether it's wood, concrete, or glass, it can shoot up that wall like it had an ability to defy gravity. Makes it hard to track, allows it to get into many areas that you would not expect to find a gerbil.
It's legends like these that have baffled biologists for centuries. With no photographic evidence and really no way to track the creatures, there's really been no conclusive proof that the Florida speckled night gerbil even really existed. Until now. It all started with some strange reports from some residents right here at Shell Point.
All of a sudden, I saw this big black blob on the ground.
I saw it right at dusk. It was going right across the road.
My grandkids are visiting, and we went up in one of these trees, and they saw it. Right, guys?
I'm never afraid when I go through in Shell Point, but here, all of a sudden, here's this big black blob, and I don't want to get too close to it.
He was big and scary.
That's why all the rabbits are gone.
I saw it jump right across the road, and then it jumped right into the middle of the flowers. Then I didn't see it anymore.
Like it was moving across. And look, and watching me.
Never did see me.
And watched me as I went back.
Just walked along and disappeared in the bushes.
So I am still wondering, what is it that I'm afraid to go back there? And I went right home, but I did not call security. I thought they would think I had lost my mind.
I came in real early the other morning, and I saw something in the corner of that canal over there. It was big and hairy.
It had hair up like this.
He was hairy as all get out.
It was a great big blob thing about this big.
I would say it stood about 18 inches tall. A scary animal, scary.
It ate our rabbits and our squirrels.
And had long toenails and things that hung down below his chin.
A long tooth. Saber-tooth.
I liked it.
Saber-tooth.
I saw this thing go so fast it jumped right up.
He was moving. He was really moving.
And it disappeared. But I knew it was him. I knew it was him.
And then, last week, a breakthrough.
I looked up on the wall, and there they were.
Daniel P., who has asked for anonymity because of his discovery, is a day laborer here at Shell Point. About a week ago, while parking his car here in the Shell Point parking garage, he spotted something strange.
I park in this parking spot every single day, but about a week ago I pulled in and there was something different, and I really couldn't put my finger on it, but then I looked over and there they were.
What he saw were footprints.
So they're right over here. Okay, and they start down here, and you could see the footprints. I mean, an animal obviously left these. They are footprints. Yeah. You could see, and they go up the wall. They go right up, and they disappear in the ceiling. And I can't think of an animal that goes up a wall.
Daniel knew he had seen something special.
It was too much for me to handle. I got on the phone. I called the International Rodent Society. They came down here, and they confirmed it's the Florida speckled night gerbil.
They are very excited to have the first evidence of the Florida speckled night gerbil. In fact, we have concrete evidence, yeah? See the force with which he ran up the wall, left marks in solid concrete, and that stride is the trademark of this Florida speckled night gerbil.
Scientists don't yet know why the gerbil has chosen to make himself known here at Shell Point, but they do have a working theory.
We have long speculated that the Florida speckled night gerbil feeds on one particular animal, the Stephenson, or the common dust bunny. Ah, yes. As Florida has become less and less dusty, they've gone to extraordinary lengths to find these dust bunnies. For the millions of rodent fans who obviously live in this country, this is the discovery of a lifetime.
Whatever the reason, it appears the Florida speckled night gerbil has found a home right here at Shell Point. We will almost certainly look back on this day in history, April 1st, 2009, as the day when the most important thing in our lives was a gerbil. For Shell Point TV, I'm Jared Pike.
Don't worry, folks. After a careful study, scientists concluded that it was probably just some common rodent, and the Florida speckled night gerbil probably doesn't even exist. Really, guys? Come on. This isn't even close. This is a puppy with bows in its hair. Come up with something better for next April Fool's Day. Speckled night gerbil? Seriously? Anyway, let's get back to business, starting with a preview of this week's episode of Listening to the Words.
Heat is one of the hot topics on this week's Listening to the Words. News Press Tropicalia editor Amy Williams has a new way to beat the heat. Then a piece titled Heat in Michigan, just to prove it's hot up north, too. Then Shell Point resident Ellen Wells recalls the extreme difficulties of travel. Another story by Harold and Ruth Greenlee of Shell Point called From Argentina to the Yangtze River. Do you remember the movie Driving Miss Daisy? Wait till you hear Shell Point resident Mary Ann Bennett voice one of the characters in a dialogue called Cab Ride. That's followed by Shell Pointer Betty Lynn's story called Sorry, Wrong Number. Then two more Shell Point residents, Joy Ellen Ryan and Yvonne Schneff, contribute stories to the program. David Hallenstein reminding you that Listening to the Words can be heard every hour of every day this week on Shell Point Channel 13.
Welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. Today is Monday, June 24th. I'm Suzanne Zavada, and I'm here with Bev Chanley to go over everything happening today. We'll start the day off at 9 o'clock with the Round Robin Men's Doubles Tennis Group meeting out at the tennis courts at the Woodlands. At 9:15, billiards will be played in the Resident Activity Center on the island. Also at 9:15, we have pottery with instruction available in the tunnel. And our last 9:15 activity is virtual bowling, taking place in the Resident Activity Center. At 10:15, we have a Health Connections, Disease Management. This will be in the Manatee Room on the island, and sign-up is required. Then at 10:30, we have the Disciple Men's Bible Study Group in the Game Room at the Woodlands. And at 10:45, we have a table tennis playing clinic in the Tarpon Room on the island. That's it for the morning. Now let's go to Bev for the afternoon.
Thanks, Suzanne. The afternoon's going to start out at 12 o'clock. Mahjong will be played in the Sable Room down at the Woodlands. 12:30 is the time we're going to Trader Joe's. This is a field trip, fabulous food and more. Court pickups begin on the island at 12:30, 12:40 for the Woodlands, and 12:50 for Eagles Preserve. Sign-up is required. Then we move to 1:15, where the astronomy group will be meeting how to choose a telescope. They'll be in the Manatee Room. At 1:15, Scrabble will be played in the Library Lounge on the island. Also at 1:15, we have table tennis in the Tarpon Room down in the tunnel. We have a Health Connection class at 1:45, Balance and Mobility Training Level 1 in the Health Club. That's currently full. And at 2 o'clock, it's time for the Beady-Eyed Bead Club in the Oak Room of the Woodlands. We have another Health Connections class, Pilates this time, at 3 o'clock in the Health Club. Then we jump all the way to 6:30, where Duplicate Bridge will be played in the Game Room of the Woodlands. And at 6:45, we have movie night, Life with Father. It's a 1947 film. They'll be showing that in the Manatee Room on the island. Our last activity for the day is square dancing. That's held in the Health Club. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
Hi, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Monday. At 10:15, the Anatomy of Words group continues in the Buttonwood Room of the Woodlands, and they welcome everyone. At 1 o'clock, we have a coffee with a neighbor, facility operations managers, a look behind the scenes. This will take place in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands, and a ticket is required. At 1 o'clock, Mahjong Part 2, Defense and Strategies, continues in the second floor country kitchen at the Arbor. And at 1:15, our how-to using a word processor continues in the Computer Teaching Center on the island. I'd like to tell you what we have coming up tomorrow. It's a full day in the Academy. Developing skills on Windows 7 with Jim Plummer of Parkwood, and Salala, the ancient capital of incense with Professor Adrian Kerr, and the holistic impact of humor with my three favorite doctors, Dr. Carol Clark, Dr. Sue Stranahan, and Dr. Nancy Spencer.
Menus for Monday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is barbecue pork ribs with cheese-mashed Yukon Golds and carrots. The dinner special is home cooking night for $9.95, and the soup of the day is split pea. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Monday, enjoy a turkey BLT with chips for $6.95. The dinner special is grilled tilapia with spinach and tomatoes over rice pilaf for $7.95. And the Palm Grill is closed on Mondays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm Andy Hawkins, the senior pastor of the Village Church, and I'm here with Tim Stephenson, who's of the Legacy Foundation here at the Shell Point Retirement Community. But Tim, you're not here to talk about legacy kinds of things, except in the grandest sense, right?
That's exactly right.
That's right. So we are here because you're going to be teaching one of our Christian Life Studies classes beginning in July, and it's about heaven. So tell us a little bit about the class.
Well, it's been about a year ago that I was approached and asked if I would teach a class.
Yes.
And I thought, yeah, that'd be fun.
Just any class?
Any class. Yeah. Will you teach? And I said, sure. So I began to pray and check my own heart and just think in terms of what would be enjoyable and helpful. Mm-hmm. And about 6 months or so ago, I realized, okay, this is coming if you're not preparing for it. And I happened at the time to be reading a book about heaven, and I thought, what better subject to begin to more formally research and just make that the topic. And so I decided, hey, let's teach on heaven. And I think it would be good for me to do that kind of a study, but I think it'd be good for our community as well.
Absolutely. And you know what strikes me about this, and this seems really odd as a pastor of a Bible-believing church, yes, and maybe you've seen this as well, is that we really don't talk about this very much in the church.
We really don't, and I'm disappointed, but I think I understand it from a cultural point of view. You know, my perception is that we live in an age right now where the emphasis is, from the pulpit and at our reading, we want a good life. C.S. Lewis wrote, aim at heaven and you get earth thrown in. Aim at earth, you get neither. And I think there is a barrenness, maybe. I don't want to overstate that, but I think there's in some ways a barrenness to the wonderful life that we have. And that might be connected to the fact that we've lost our focus just a little bit on eternity and on heaven. We live with, I think, what an earlier generation, maybe a different culture, would have perceived as heaven on earth already.
That's right.
And it can keep us from longing for more. One of the early impressions I have as a young Christian, still a teenager, was when my pastor recounted having been in a conversation with a businessman about eternity, and in that case, the second coming. And the topic came up, well, how do you feel about the second coming? And the businessman said, it would be the most inconvenient thing of all. And it helped frame for me, as much as I'm engaged in what I do, as much as I love life, as much as I enjoy the blessing of God, I never want to become so detached from eternity that I would think of that as being an interruption or an inconvenience.
It's like I've heard some people say that everybody wants to go to heaven, but just not now.
Yeah, nobody wants to go today. And I think there's a country song about that. It has to be, but it's true. And I think there is legitimately born within us this incredible desire for life. And talking about heaven, I don't think denies that. I don't think I have to say, well, I'm so in love with heaven that I don't want to live. Or conversely, I don't want to say, well, I want to live, so there must be something wrong with me. No. When I read the scriptures, I find there is within us, born within us, a desire to live, a desire to be fruitful, a desire for joy, enjoyment even. And yet, I think when we frame that in the larger context, that even the best, the scriptures say, the best of what we have here can't even compare with what God has ready for us when we meet Him face to face. Well, that's going to change life here when I frame it in that kind of context. So it won't be just a book study about a couple books that I read. It will be a book study born in the Scriptures. I represented one of the things that I wrote. It's going to be a little bit of a travelogue of what God has prepared for us, but it'll be based in the Scriptures, and we'll use some other outsources or other resources that will help us do the illustrations. But it'll be born in the Scriptures. It should be a fun journey.
Yeah. Well, it sounds fantastic, and we're looking forward to it. So thank you, Tim, for joining us today. And thank you for joining us on Village Church Connections. We hope to see you soon.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow as we explore the connection between psychologist B.F. Skinner and the biblical character of Moses. We'll also go sailing with Ted and Mary Boynton, whose transatlantic ocean adventures have been documented in a new book. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Monday, June 24th. I'm Rochelle Chernowski. From all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.